Greetings, humanity. Welcome to Channel Otherdoc, and just trying this thing where we just sort of chat a bit. I'm Jim, and I use he, him pronouns, and that's all I can think to say about myself. Hi, Anino.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm Anino. You might have seen me with my hit characters on Jim's mini campaigns all year long.
You're delightful.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot, and thank you for
Oh,
um, allowing me to participate in them because I've been able to do or learn or figure out a lot of things about my role playing style and how I like to role play. So,
cool.
yeah.
That's cool. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, it's just basically, so this is kind of, for anyone watching, this is an experiment whereby we just figured we just kind of chat for a bit and just sort of see what happens. And that just, I need practice talking to actual humans. And so this is an attempt at that. Uh, and plus, I think also, Anina, you wanted to talk about you've got some character building stuff going on, yeah?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I started a new job, started off with a new company, and one of the things I discovered after I had mentioned that I've been doing, tabletop role playing streaming, I got invited into a secret Slack channel about the company's D&D campaign. So, I sat in on one session this past a couple of Thursdays ago, actually, just to get a feel and see what their campaign is all about, and how organized they are. So the reason why I wanted to sort of just do this character creation thing is because I haven't played like a real Dungeons and Dragons like in-person tabletop campaign before. My first foray into Dungeons and Dragons was when I was in like 7th and 8th grade. And it was just me and this other Filipino kid who were like the only Asian kids in this school of like 200 kids or so. That was all Catholic, and so that one-on-one D&D experience is way different than any of this sort of table experience. So, and that was it because at that time, the early 90s. When you don't have a car and you don't live in a major nerdy city like Cambridge here, it's really hard to find a Dungeons and Dragons game unless you're running it yourself. But big surprise to nobody. Dungeons and Dragons wasn't exactly the most popular thing in the early 90s. So that was second edition. That was second edition.
Yep.
That I was.
Yeah, that was actually, and I also went to a Catholic high school. It was at the time an all boys Catholic high school, and strangely enough, there was a D&D club. They didn't care for some reason, but it was still a very weird kind of experience because it was like it's like everywhere else, like in town or what have you, had. It was really. I mean, I was kind of sort of in the middle states, I guess. This was like northern Kentucky, southern Ohio,
Sure.
and so there was kind of a lot of a back and forth as to whether or not some people thought D&D was evil, some did not, and that line tended to swoop in one direction or the other. Often, depending on how far north or south one was, but not exclusively. But it was it was still kind of nuts. Yeah, it's like in 90, 89, 90, 91 were the years that I finally actually really dived into it with a small group. And it wasn't even really an official... The school club actually was gone by the time. It was just a little tiny handful of people, of guys that we were doing. And just sort of at each other's houses. And, that was... I think I had gotten first edition, and then second edition started by the time I started with that group, and that was like basically what we were delving into. It was not a terribly popular thing.
Oh no, I can't see why.
I had no idea. There was a cartoon and everything.
I know, right? I went back and actually watched that entire cartoon.
Oh my god. How does it
Um,
hold up?
Not great, not great at all. But what's funny was that it ended like right before the final episode. Like they didn't even have
Yeah,
a
I heard
chance
that.
to do that, like to animate and finish the series. And I thought that was just crazy and such. Later, I found the script for it, and so I read through that as sort of my closure to that series. But yeah, no, it's crazy. But if you guys go online somewhere, you can probably find it and watch it. It was certainly uh,
I remember when.
interesting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, I just remember when the DVDs came out that, and a couple of. I think it was sometime during 3.5, because I think a couple of my friends ended up getting the DVD box, and it was like the red box. They had set it up, and they
Sure.
put in there. They had, like, in the little book, they had stats, third edition stats for the different characters,
Oh, that's awesome.
and I think they might have had. And I'm not sure if that was on that DVD or if it was something later that folks did, but apparently they picked up that script and they had the original actors come and do just sort of a reading of
Uh-huh.
it, that they recorded, and then I think they put, like, still images or whatever as the thing. I didn't actually see the thing. This is just what
Yeah,
people told me, so I
sure.
have no idea if any of this is valid, but that's just what I
Yeah.
heard.
So, but yeah, so I basically I didn't play any of the editions between second and fifth, and my foray into fifth has been limited to two one-shot campaigns,
Mhm.
one of which like had no combat whatsoever in it. That was that holiday one that you might have seen with me on Scraticus.
Oh.
It was DM'd by Renee, but it was sort of a riff on the Little Match Girl
Yeah.
holiday story. And yeah, so it was funny. I think the only thing that I did in that game was cast Detect Poison. That was my entire contribution. And I accidentally stole 5 gold from a peasant girl, and I felt really bad about that later on because I thought this was just a vision. I'm like, oh well, I'll take this in my vision, and yeah. And then later when Renee was just like, oh, I thought you guys were not going to pull this off because your cleric stole some money from a poor peasant kid, and I'm like, oh, well,
Oh dear.
my bad.
I think I saw some of that one,
Yeah.
and I remember the Match Girl riff that was happening
Yeah,
on it.
but and then I did like a little spin-off of that one actually, because Faranox he hosted another like campaign and brought pretty much all of Subscriticus into that one shot, and so that was fun because that was when I played my second character, which was this gnome falconer slash thief who just had a pet falcon, and because it was a one shot, he let me get away with a lot of stuff. So he allowed me to get away with having a falcon that was strong enough to carry a gnome up onto rooftops and such. So yeah,
That's a
that was
lot
a
of
good.
Falcon.
Yeah, that's a lot of falcon, right? Uh, but yeah, so that was a lot of fun, and I had a fun little paragraph backstory. It was Bindi Swires. Oh my god, why is my cat playing limbo with my microphone stand?
Is that not what it's for? The microphone stand for the cat to play with it. Are not all things in your house for the cat to play with?
Yeah,
Is that
pretty much.
not the cat's world?
Yeah,
All
May
things.
knows that. But so yeah, it was really funny. So I had like this character Bindi Swires who was a forest gnome that got gentrified out of her forest village by a company called Orkazon. And so she swore vengeance against mercantile chief Bezog, and started a woman, one falcon crusade against capitalism.
Please tell me these were capitalist orcs.
Yes, they were led by mercantile chief Bezog, which I thought was like the funniest thing that I could just throw in there.
That's so wonderful.
But yeah, she was like a really like homicidal extremist forest gnome, and yeah. So that's when my challenges started, because then I started being like, oh, if you donate X amount of dollars to Extra Life, I will do whatever you want. And one of the things was name my falcon, and it ended up being a tie between Chanticleer and Falcon McFalcon Face. So yeah. Luckily, someone tiebreaker, and I went with Chanticleer. But Falcon McFalcon Face would have been pretty.
Would have been a thing, certainly.
I would have done it too. So
it's funny. Chanticleer was for no apparent reason. It's just this thing that keeps sticking in my head because it's there. I think that my college team of various things were called the Chanticleers. Why, I'm not sure, but I know why. Never mind. I'm not going into that. There are other chickens involved. Basically, that's all I will say. Right. The thing that I like the idea of capitalist orcs coming in and taking it, just because you don't get to see portrayals of. We need more varied portrayals of orcs.
Sure.
At the very least, of everything, but also I think because it's for very. I'm not going to get too deep into my philosophy on this, I guess, right now, but just that you only see them fulfilling the same couple of roles usually, typically, in most fantasy, and so there was this one point I just kind of went nuts, and I'm like, I need to design some setting or other that has where we have orcs in powdered wigs. They're the ones with the power.
They're the ones with the power.
Yes.
Cool. We must draft the Orc-stitution.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's this weird thing. It's I kind of have this thing bopping around the back of my head, and it's not like a full setting at all. It's just like this thing where it's like there's what is it? This sort of thing with colonial goblins. And then also orcs in finery and powdered wigs, kind of like they're like back home or something. And I have no idea. I have not fleshed it out any more than that. But
that is such a fun rabbit hole to go, especially if you're one of those like history nerds. Like, okay, so you have colonial goblins. So what kind of group of goblins would form Quakers and just migrate or find a new colony like Rhode Island or something?
I know, right? Just like
Quaker goblins.
It's like these goblins were so committed to this philosophy that we did not like that they left. They went across the ocean and formed these colonies.
But then one of them just thought, no, this colony is too liberal. We must go back to our roots and form a Quaker colony. And then what if you had like Amish goblins? Like goblins who just shun the whole idea of like engineering.
Oh my goodness, I'm seeing parallel actually with the Pathfinder setting a little bit. Not completely, but there's like, they do this thing, right? Where this thing with the goblin race, they put out like 3 or 4 Weeby Goblins type modules at this point because they wanted to develop on it, and I think it's because it's funny. And, the sort of Pathfinder goblins have got the really wide sort of wide heads and the sharp teeth and the red eyes, and someone in chat has just referenced Alexander Hamildork, and now my mind has gone into completely other place. But
just beatboxing orcs.
Yes, exactly. Why not? Well, yeah. Why not? But I'm sorry, I've forgotten completely what I was saying about the goblins. It doesn't matter.
Goblins in the Pathfinder setting.
Oh right, yeah, no, they have this thing where it's like they can't read because if they're part of Goblin Society, because they think that if you learn to read, then the words get stolen out of your head, and the only way to keep control of your mind is to not learn writing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's one word for it. I like educated goblins. I like having educated, refined goblins and orcs. I can't explain why completely, but it's a thing.
I mean, you can have savage elves. Why not? Why not throw some savage elves in there?
Exactly. You need to play with these tropes, turn them upside down a bit. I think it's good for us to do that, actually, as human beings, for humanity to look at these things so that we can. Yeah.
But that's what I kind of like doing with my characters, is sort of taking. I mean, like, I'll take something out of like pop culture, and then I will try to see how I can spin it into just enough to get started with role playing the character.
Yeah.
Which is why, for your first campaign, when we were doing that noir setting, and I created the Black Surgeon, I was pulling from Grey's Anatomy. Like the head surgeon of Grey's Anatomy was a black guy, and so that's sort of where my inspiration sort of drew from there. And then, I decided I would try playing like a really over the top bard, because I'd never done that before. No, it's true, because so a lot of the role playing that I did, non sequitur, was actually in MMOs, because I always ended up meeting and encountering people who had played for so many years Dungeons and Dragons, and then they were always talking in character and stuff, and I always thought, oh wow, that's pretty cool, I should try that. Maybe Madeline there, for instance, is one of those people that I met who does that, and I don't know if Kazemi is floating around. She's my partner, and she role played a lot, like a lot. So I was always really jealous of that. She got to experience that, but well, there she is. But awkward wave into the camera.
It's part of my brand to wave it.
Yeah, it's in brand. I like that you're clearly defining your brand.
Yes, it's important. Yes. I think I needed to get around to that sooner or later, so these things need to happen.
Yeah. So we can talk more about that too. But yeah. So so that's where a lot of my RP did. But like a lot of my RP characters are always like different extensions of me and my drawing from my experience as in the fun world of underground fighting and martial arts stuff. So I just sort of pulled a lot of my backstory from my characters from that experience. And once I stopped playing those MMOs, oh my god, what is it?
We have a visitor.
I know, right? What's going on? Ow. Hey. Stop headbutting me. No. You're like the junkyard dog or something.
You started talking about fighting rings, and I guess the cat got excited or something.
Yeah, I know, right? So, I drew from my experience, professional fighting, and just all the characters that I knew and all the things that happened in there. So that's, sort of my way of trying to bring about the Asian American perspective and sort of explore that, because that's not a storyline that you really get to see a whole lot in just fiction in general. In City of Heroes, which was the main MMO that I played, my character was Asian American, and so I tried to tell his story and just sort of show or talk about the different threads that you don't see in Asian American literature, which is City of Heroes is actually back. You can log into a test server and play it. which I will share those details with you later. But
And hearing stories.
yes, but yeah. So it was sort of my way of drawing from my real life experiences and start do some storytelling and um, you know talk about the Asian American male experience because you tend to see a lot of Asian American women in stories and such, although it's usually hyper fetishized. Um, but the thing I noticed when I was in Hollywood doing stunt work and stuff, and just trying to carve out something, was that Asian American guys tended to get stereotyped into a lot of things where you're either this like um, human highlight reel, I guess, with martial arts fury. But the thing I noticed in talking with a lot of other Asian American actors and such, I was a stunt guy, I wasn't a real actor, but it was so rare for any Asian character in a movie in Hollywood to be to even have a kiss with a female lead. And so with Bayani, I was trying to get give him a role or a history that you could see someone like Hugh Jackman playing, I guess, in a movie and such. So but once City of Heroes passed, oh my God, why are you attacking me?
Do they desire the foods?
No, they ate already. I don't know why she's just being okay. So yeah, where was I? Yeah, so like after that, like after MMOs started going out of style, and City of Heroes closed, I did the writing thing for a little while, but I just never really got any traction with that.
Right.
And so I started dusting things off, and it wasn't until I started doing the streaming thing that I decided I would start playing RPG streams, such. So that's where we are today. I guess I'm trying to create and play a bunch of different diverse characters just to hopefully make it mainstream, or at least just have a typical just have it get accepted without too much trouble. I guess just be normal about it. Because I feel like anybody should be able to play any character of any color or sexual preference, whatever. But I would hope that people would do it in such a way that is authentic and natural, and not just based on whatever stereotype that you see in the movies and such. So it always helps to be able to meet other people and get that sort of diversity of thought going.
Absolutely.
So that's why I did that, and then I did Prince because I wanted a over the top character that could do it.
That's so good.
That was pretty fun. And then now on a dare from one of my frequent collaborators, she was the one who sort of came up with this idea of Hank Hill as a character in a eldritch horror setting. So that's where we got the antique accessories thing going.
Okay.
So
cool.
but like the thing I like about your mini campaigns though is that like I sort of learned because the systems are very focused on role play. I don't have to deal with the actual rule sets and such beyond the character creation. I can sort of just focus on creating character and doing the storytelling stuff. So I learned a lot about it, and I feel like my RP is getting better with each path. The things I learned is that I don't want to get too over the top to the point where I might distract or dominate a particular campaign, which I feel like Alexander Nevermind was a little bit too much in that Dungeon World campaign.
I mean, the thing is, though, that was kind of there were certain things that you had working for you with that. I mean, it's a bard, B, it's Prince.
Yes.
So I mean, these are things that you welcome, and I think that the things balanced out pretty well
Yeah.
overall.
Right.
I
But I think
was
that's.
not.
I think that's.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I think that's due to your like really good GMing though, because
Thank
you're
you.
really able to, manage that group. I mean, there are a lot of different personalities in that group, and to me, it seems like you tend to um, call together players that a lot of players that you've never played with before and might not have even seen. So it could go either way. Um, I still think the funniest thing about that campaign was Candlefang be like giving himself up in exchange for free passage, and I'm like, were you? Did you not know the story of Perseus and the Medusa?
Oh,
Oh,
well, it's interesting because the I think the character moments, and this is what I really loved about the way the characters got played in that campaign, is that
yeah,
it seemed very natural.
right.
Just the way that the way he was taking his character arc. I will admit, I did not expect like over half the party to go kamikaze in that last session.
I know it was really funny. It's like me and I think it was Brian we were sort of
Yeah.
like deer in headlights. We're like, what is going on? This just went sideways really, really bad. And
Well, that totally makes sense too because it was the bard and the thief. Basically, they're just sort of going like, "Oh crap! Okay, we gotta fix this. We gotta fix this now."
I mean, I figured we were going to run. I thought Brian was going to run, just like completely run and not deal with it at all. Just be like, nope, I am out of here. This is. I'll take my chances with the apocalypse.
That would have been a valid choice
Yeah.
for his character anyway.
Yeah. So it was just really funny because I'm like, well, I think the only play here is to just get the Medusa out and do the fighting for
Yeah.
us. So
It was
it
a
was
good
a
idea. Because also the way that just the group collectively had set that story up, and I just used prompts that you folks gave me.
sure.
I just basically, in sort of crafting that whole thing, that backstory, it was really a thing where I was like, okay, yeah, this is their relationship. The group knows their relationship, and they can draw on that. They can hit those keys if they want to, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you did, and it worked. So that was great. You did always have the Clash of the Titans option if you wanted it,
Right.
but just everything just sort of seemed to organically go another way. I actually love it when things do that in games, just because then it's exciting. It's like, okay, I have no idea what's going to happen now.
Yeah. No, I think that's great because you sort of give. Is that what they call the haiku system, in which you are asking those questions at the
Oh,
start?
well, the haiku that's specific to Tremulous.
Okay.
That they call it that. The asking questions is something that they encourage in general in Powered by the Apocalypse.
Okay.
So that's any Powered by the Apocalypse game is going to do that for the most part. Some stress it more than others. And that's actually something it shares in common with Lady Blackbird, which is the system that we used for RVR. And so it's very much but it's that those the folks are in sort of the same circles. So it's very much a sort of an indie game thing to now do this thing where you ask questions. But I think Apocalypse World and Lady Blackbird were very much kind of, I don't want to say absolute progenitors, but the ones who made that style of playing are popular. So that was I think a very sort of big deal for that.
Yeah. But that's interesting because what's funny was that when I volunteered for that Straticus one shot, I was hoping that would springboard into more like Dungeons and Dragons games. But since then, I played everything but Dungeons and Dragons, which is is kind of how it it's just how it rolls and how it turns out and such. But I like the mini campaign stuff because you get stories that have a beginning, middle, and end, and it's not just sort of continuing on in serial and all that stuff. But yeah, so yes, May, that's how it rolls. Thanks for the pun. Or it doesn't roll for that matter, because we rarely roll any dice. But it's funny because a lot of people's experience with role playing has always been, immediately goes first to Dungeons and Dragons. May, for instance, was sort of like commenting, like, you don't have a board set up with icons for this Tremulous campaign. I'm like, oh, well, here, I'll show you a screenshot of what we're looking at in Roll20. And it was basically just that splash image of Tremulous. And and she was just like, oh, okay then.
That was purely there just for people to look at. That was really it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, if you put a picture of like some sort of like horror from beyond, I think we would have all gone insane at some point and never be free from this storyline.
Never. There is no escape from the storyline.
But yeah, so RVR was also really interesting because, because that was when you actually had to set character limits, I guess, as far as you can get when you have, Hamlet leading a crew with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Falstaff on it.
Yes. That was the interesting thing about that is that grew out of a one shot. I will just briefly, if anyone is interested. So this is what they see when they look at the Tremulous, the Roll20. It's just that image that I'm showing now. That's it. That's all that's in the Roll20 visually. The rest of it's just they're rolling based on things that are set up in there. So that was just to give them something to look at. That was really all it was.
Yeah. So RVR was really interesting because I took a lot of Shakespeare, and one of the things in my high school when I was taking the Shakespeare courses was that he would have us do a read through of certain passages, and Mercutio was one of the first characters that I had to read a part of, and then later when I don't know if anyone's ever seen that movie, Shakespeare in Love, but the guy who played Mercutio was Ben Affleck, and he was sort of this. What was funny was that what I remember from the plot of that movie was he came in expecting to be the lead of the of the play Romeo and Ethel, the pirate's daughter, and he was kind of pissed off when he didn't actually get a lead role. He ended up playing that sort of bit guy who just went over the top with his death scene. And so I basically drew from that version of Mercutio, the Mercutio from Shakespeare in Love, just because that was just so like in my mind for that character. But
I think actually your introduction of just the mention of Ethel the pirate's daughter, because I'd seen Shakespeare in Love, and that actually triggered in my head for what I was able to set up for the end credit scene that I did at the very end when there's a robot version of Shakespeare in there trapped in the Death Star. Because it's like, okay, Ethel the pirate's daughter. This means Shakespeare in Love is part of the park. Okay, well then in that case.
I mean, what was funny was just how that sort of just spiraled really out of control in terms of it. I don't know if you guys have seen that out there, but if you ever want to pull up something funny and just listen to like just how absurd things got, it really took off in like midway through the second episode, and then third episode was pretty much up there, and then fourth was just like, well, this is our last shot at this, so we're just going to throw everything in there. Like there was Van Helsing, there was Elvis, there was Dr. Henry McCoy.
Dr. Yeah.
Dr. McCoy. Oh my gosh.
No, I
Yeah.
just basically, I was at that point, I was like, yeah, what the heck? What the hell? I'm just, I may as well just do this. I started doing all the, I think it was the episode prior to that when it was that moment as I was asking, okay, tell me something you know about the station. And everyone just started, the avalanche of pop culture references started. I'm like, okay, well, if we're doing this.
Yeah, because you really like that part because there was literally Alice's restaurant on this station.
Yep. Although I finally did go and I read the lyrics, and the restaurant does not appear in the actual song.
No,
Not really.
which I thought was pretty funny. But that was sort of in line with our storytelling and how things were just insane. Or people were sort of just grasping and trying to reinterpret our history and our pop culture based on what was surviving and what was left. And someone probably just sort of like Alice's Restaurant saw the song and was like, oh, well, okay, we'll just throw together this Alice's Restaurant thing.
Precisely. I always like to imagine a bunch of files must have gotten corrupted at some point where then, things just sort of cross-pollinated with each other. And I mean, this happens in history anyway. Things get passed down generation to generation and things change. And just because you got it on digital doesn't mean that the interpretations of those things are going to remain the same. So
true. But I mean, I figure with the way the internet is and how people really love to write their fan fiction and stuff. So there's bound to be someone who's going to throw all of this stuff together into something, and maybe they just happen to pick up that file of what was the first fan fiction that I read? It was a crossover between Star Trek and Star Wars.
Ooh.
And Yoda was teaching Q about the Force, and it was just like I was just like, what is this? What is this stuff? What is going on?
Yeah, that's how these things
I think there was actually like a real knuckles out, drag out brawl between Chewbacca and Lieutenant Worf.
Because of course fiction. There was.
Yeah, fan fiction was just wild. Nice. Time. I mean, it hasn't gotten any better, but it is what it is.
These things happen.
Yeah.
So before we get too much further, I see we've gone in like 40 minutes already. I believe that we were going to talk about your 5e D&D character you're putting together, yeah?
Yeah. So I guess we'll open this up to audience participation if they want to throw in details and such. What should I do? Should I just share my screen or something?
That's an excellent question. You can if you want, if you've got something up there that you want to show.
Well, I mean, I pulled up D&D Beyond, so...
okay, you doing it?
Figured I would just walk through that. And I don't know if people haven't seen it before.
We're going to experiment now with screen sharing on on Zoom. Let's see what happens.
I mean, I've done this all the time on at work, but
okay. Yeah. Now I'm gonna create right now a secondary thingy here, just so that folks can see, so I don't have to move stuff around later. And let me go ahead and set this up so that we can see kind of the whole screen here. And you can see what it is we're talking about. All right. So this is D&D Beyond I'm seeing here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to yank this in front and in front of where we are. Let me change the settings here real quick so I can put it in about the center here. And then I will transition and everyone will be able to see what it is that I'm talking about. There we go. Okay. So we're looking at a screen here. It says my characters.
Yeah, so this is just the D&D Beyond page. So I figured I'd just use this tutorial to sort of walk through it and come up with stuff. So I'd never really seen this before, but I don't think we're going to come up with a character's name out here just yet.
Okay.
Um, so basically, I'm kind of trying to take the lessons I've learned from all these mini campaigns so far on what works for me and what doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't want to do too much of an overtop character this time around. The campaign's pretty chill. The guy doesn't have a DM screen. I don't know where he gets his notes from, if he even looks at notes. I think he probably had them up on his laptop. But so the campaign has about 16 different characters, 16 different people playing in it, but only 6 to 8 people ever show up on any given session. So thinking about that, that's where I sort of decided I didn't want to get a character that was too over the top and such, because either he's going to get no play time or no story time, or he's going to infringe upon other people's story times. So that being said, I didn't want a character that was so over the top, but I wanted to also make a character that could be useful in a number of different situations. Mm-hmm. So increase the font. I can do that. We'll just zoom right in.
Okay.
Did that work? Yeah, it's going now. Could do that. So I know there was so the other thing too is that this is a level 12 campaign. I've never played a character who's been more than level 5 in a lot of instances. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I kind of really wanted to make sure that my character had a lot of cool skills that I could use and have fun with, just because when you're in a high level campaign, you might as well just use everything at your disposal.
Sure, absolutely.
So, at first I thought about going with a bard and rehashing the Alexander Nevermind from Dungeon World, but I kind of don't want to just keep rehashing the old stuff or fall into the trap of just falling back on something like that. Because one of the other things that I learned too with the campaigns is that I'm really bad at accents, to the point where I don't have the time or the energy or the inclination to practice that. I would rather be RPing instead of practicing.
Sure.
I want to spare your viewers in future campaigns me stumbling through an accent or a really weird, unique speech pattern. So we're not going to go with a character like Hank Hill ever again.
It's been fun so far, though.
It's been fun, but I'm not going to go do that again. Hey, Levi, how's it going?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could go with a bard, but then one of the other people mentioned that they were going to play a multi-class barbarian bard called Grimo, who would be into death metal, and that would be his thing. So I'm like, well, I could, okay. So if I play a bard, what could I play against that would that I could pull off? And I feel like I would have to be a foil to that character, just because I don't know anything about death metal. I couldn't even name you one death metal song. And I wasn't about to do some research on death metal because, who's got time for that?
Oh, exactly.
But so one of the ideas I was throwing around there was doing a lounge crooner bard.
Ooh.
Like a sort of Harry Connick Jr. thing. Oh, nice. Because, I could sort of finagle a song out of that, just making stuff up on the fly. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It escapes me. I had a funny line that I had come up with earlier while I was in the shower, and it was like I think it was one of the what's the name of that guy? Sings that "It's Not Unusual" song.
Oh, Tom Jones?
Tom Jones, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, I'm like, oh, what if he sort of just seduced his way through like everything as a crooner?
Nice.
uh, yeah, could I get away with something like that? Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, and what's funny is like my whole decision process started with just um, a YouTube dive. I started I started off with Liberace.
Oh my God.
And then yeah, it sort of just progressed through a lot of musicals, and then it came down to Harry Connick Jr.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
And
my
then I'm
God.
just like, oh, could I do that?
Nice.
There was also um, this hilarious character that I met in City of Heroes. It was always in character, but it was called the Lounge Crooner, and he was this guy who wore a leisure suit, hairy chest, receding hairline. He was a Sonic corruptor, but he was this like really greasy um, guy who was sort of a throwback to that lounge crooner that uh, who was that comedian? Kaufman,
Oh.
that
Yeah.
that character that Kaufman played,
Yeah.
and so I was
Yeah.
throwback to that. And the thing was is that
Tony something.
there was Pocket D where everybody would sort of gather, and it was sort of like a cross faction bar and lounge, and he would sing there, and he would hit on all of the women characters
Oof.
in there by singing like standards like Air Supply and Hall and Oates stuff, which was great. So, that was kind of where I was thinking I might try to go, and it'd be awkward, but I've only known these people for about a week, 2 weeks, so I didn't want to be over the top
Right.
like
Right. Yeah.
that. I could do that on your channel, possibly, and pull that off,
Yeah.
but on that. So I was sort of leaning towards a cleric because
Right.
who's going to hate on a cleric,
Sure.
really?
Yeah.
So let's do that. We'll go with the cleric.
Okay.
Necromancer Carly Rays Jepsen.
Oh no. Oh
Call me
dear.
dead.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness. Oh boy.
that is awesome.
Wow. Wow. Just trying to process that, and I can't. I don't know if I can.
I don't know if I can either. That's how does one do a pop star necromancer?
Oh well, I'm sure there are ways. Um, well, it's like if pop stars have followings, and just in this case, the followers, a lot of the followers have been reanimated, so it's like they follow they're still following the song. It's just it's just
Maze makeshift lyrics. Oh my
yes.
god.
They're following they're following the singing, and one way or the other, it's just that they're hearing it from beyond the grave. I think that's really the main difference.
That is fantastic.
So is for one shot or for a campaign?
So this is an ongoing campaign. I suppose I could dig up the storyline, but basically it's about a bunch of party or adventurers in the middle of a nation or kingdom that's undergoing a revolution.
Okay.
So, there's a lot of political intrigue going on, which I think would make for the cleric to be a better choice than the bard over the bard top.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So we're going to choose XP basics character progression because we know we're starting this character off at level 12. I don't think there's anything else in here that I need to select. We're going to call this character Whip right now.
Okay. A WIP in progress. Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Oh. Imagine
Department of the
that.
Dungeon Department.
What is an Asimar?
Okay, that is a well. You know what it? So it's like the other side of what a tiefling would be. So it's like it's someone who had angelic ancestry instead of demonic or devil ancestry.
Man, those divine beings really knew how to
Oh yeah,
intermix and intermingle.
they did.
Um,
They often did.
many of them. Everybody's trying to be Zeus.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
you sort of set that template out there, and unfortunately, uh,
I non sequitur. I read on Reddit. I read the writing prompts subreddit all the time, and
yeah.
one of the ideas I read recently was aliens have started to invade the Earth, and all of the old gods um, have awakened to um, you know to answer the threat, I guess. And so people were throwing out ideas, and one of the ideas was Zeus being like, "Oh yeah, new new chick types to bang," or something like
Oh
that.
man,
Like, yeah, I got to get some alien.
what does it say when about? Uh, well, no, actually, I don't have the. I don't actually have the end of that sentence. Never mind. Um, I thought I did. Didn't.
So, so we got a cleric. That's what we're looking at so far,
Yeah.
folks. What race should I play? We'll throw that out to the audience. Let them pick that character.
Yeah. What do you folks think? Where did they say what world this is set in? Is this a homebrew world or is this?
This is a homebrew world.
Okay, and this is again for your game. For those of you just joining us, this is your game at the office. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. This is the secret game in the in the dungeon underneath the office.
Underneath the office. All right, so we got human, we've got halfling.
Yeah. I should really learn how to do polls on this thing. Sooner or later, I shall figure these things out.
Someday.
One day, perhaps. Yes. So let's see. We have a suggestion for a human. We have a suggestion that you play a halfling. Did they say how long this game has been going on?
I think there have been like 8 chapters.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
When you say chapters, are they talking about that's not sessions, is it? That's like
No,
multiple.
it's yeah, that's multiple. It's I think it's been going on for at least 2 or 3 years.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, cleric is a fairly friendly way to introduce it. I think of those two choices that we're seeing, human and halfling. This is just my armchair just sort of thought about it. I think that the safer choice would probably be human if you're just wanting to sort of feel them out as players and figure out kind of how they how they deal with various things in their fictional society that they've created. Halfling could be a very fun choice, especially halfling clerics you don't see a lot of. So that would be something that they might not have gotten introduced to as of late. It just sort of depends how you want to flavor it.
Sure. I mean, one thing to throw out there, because we were talking about it earlier, was what if we went with a very educated half orc or half?
Oh yeah.
With a powdered wig.
that would delight. Well, that would delight me, but
That would delight you. I'm going to hold that off.
Not at your yeah.
Like, when you do a D&D 5th edition game, I am going to purposely roll a half orc with a powdered
wig.
Excellent. We're going to start right there.
That's there may be D&D 5e at some point coming up in the future. It depends on how fast I'm able to integrate all the stuff that I want to do. But we shall see. Sure. We shall see.
All right. So we'll go with halfling.
Okay.
Because I think I have an idea brewing.
Cool. Cool.
Lightfoot or stout?
I cannot remember what the different. I should actually take this out since they can't see me right now. I'm going to take the opportunity to leap up and grab my book just so that I can have that in front of me whilst we're doing this. I'll be right back.
Sank Shreka.
Okay, I got it. What I don't have is a table to sit it on, but I'm going to sit it on the TV stand over to my left here. Okay.
So dexterity or constitution?
What is the density of a halfling?
What is the density of... Okay. Let's go with stout.
Okay. You increase the halfling's density. Excellent. Oh, that's the. They're using the picture out of the book there for that's in there somewhere. I think that's by the, what is it, like the whatever the hometown hero background is. The little portrait of that halfling. It's actually eerily close to in appearance to a halfling that I played once ages ago.
With mutton chops.
Kind of, almost. He was a bard, but he was, for some reason, I'll try not to wander too far down the rabbit hole here, but for some reason, like all of the most, I won't say all, I will say most of my information about how to play halflings and gnomes in my head comes from the movie Time Bandits. So I basically was playing the character as kind of a David Rappaport type character. Where was I going with this? I can't remember. There was something. It was just very close. It was Garrick the Roach. He had... and so he would go around talking like this a lot. And he was mostly trying to do side deals with people for the entire campaign. It was a city campaign, so it was very useful for that. And that's the thing, is that anytime they would throw an NPC out from the city, I would instantly just sort of grab them and find a way to incorporate them into my information network. It was lovely. That was the same character. I managed somehow that character. There were 2 green dragons rampaging through town, and I was able to talk them into leaving. I still, to this day, don't know how I did it. He was very convincing. All right, I'm done. I'm sorry.
No. This is what these chats are for.
Good. Excellent.
Get some insight into us outside of a game, and chat with people.
Tangent time.
Tangents.
All the tangents ever.
So my working idea right now is, we've got a halfling cleric. So for some reason the path I've gone is sort of, what if he worshipped the god of cooking?
Okay.
What if he just became one of those like gourmands, like
my
a
goodness.
cleric gourmand? So yeah, that's the path I'm going right now.
Oh my!
Because if there's anything I can talk about, and if there's anything I can talk about and go on about, it's food.
Awesome.
There's so many different things that I can do. I could give him that kind of personality of a person who posts on Yelp. He also has pastries. He doesn't have potions. He just has pastries. Cream-filled donuts. Here, drink down this jelly donut.
I love this idea so much.
So I think we're I think this is it. We're gonna go with this.
Yeah, no, you have to.
So now we got to come up with the divine domain. Take another donut hole. You're gonna eat it, and you're gonna like it. Uh, Stop being so basic, Susan. Put some spice into that gruel.
You need this to heal, damn it.
So, I guess
Oh my god.
which of these domains would work?
Oh my god. So I mean, they're like, there are a few different ways you could go with this. I mean, so halfling chef, right? So it's like, so obviously it's the war domain, right?
I challenge you to an Iron Chef duel.
So, yeah. Now, Levi, yeah. My first thought was also what Levi is saying here is the life domain might be the well, if you're doing primarily healing stuff. There is, I can see a applications for doing it as like trickery or possibly even nature.
If it's a nature, he's a vegan chef.
Yes.
Oh my god! How many people would I alienate so badly? He was a vegan, and he was preaching about the vegan lifestyle.
Oh my gosh.
That's
That's what he's. Is he just a cleric of veganism? Is that really what it is? Is that
so that would be your domain.
The vegan domain. If someone hasn't written the vegan domain yet for D&D, they really need to get on that.
Oh man, I think this is homebrew. We're starting to delve into homebrew.
Oh dear. Okay.
But
oh man.
But I don't think he could be a stout halfling if he was a vegan. He would have to go.
That's fair. I mean, it's possible, but yeah, life. But yeah, life is probably going to be the broadest application here.
Yeah.
You could take the Tempest domain if you want, say, like exploding crawlers or something like that. But
all of his potions he lights on fire before serving
yeah, that'd actually be more the light domain, really, if you want to do a lot of fire damage. Yes, there we go. Run like the wind, Levi. Go to Google Drive. Levi's been on a design frenzy lately, by the way. Doing a bunch of, I think, Monster Hearts playbooks and playbooks for various Powered by the Apocalypse things.
Let's go with the light domain. I think we can work with the light domain a little.
Oh my gosh.
Master of the Flames. His hat is just a walk.
Oh! That's so wonderful. It's basically, he's a hibachi chef. Oh my god.
Can he dual wield a spatula and a fork?
Yes! I love this so much. I wish I could. I just wish that, and I've been trying, but unfortunately, it's not allowing me. I wish that this could show me that OBS was giving me an option to show you the tiny little sub window that has our faces in it right now, because we're just dying right now. We're dying of laughter.
I think I can hear it just from the way we're
Yeah, I think that's true. It's fair. It's fair. This group you are coming into is probably not going to be ready for you. I'm just guessing that.
Well, what's funny is that I went into this with the idea of playing just being a nice guy and just just sort of blending in. But
yeah, play a cleric. That'll be that makes sense. They'll need a cleric. Ah. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is wonderful.
So now we're at the ability score generation.
Oh my god. Ooh, okay. So, yeah. So it depends kind of on, to an extent, kind of what you want to do with it, I guess. I have found if you decide you want to do point buy, there was a thing of all the different, someone calculated all the different arrays you could get. with all the different possible point combinations. If you decide you want to do that, if not, yeah, feel free. Do whatever you want.
So I'm just here to have fun. This guy doesn't even collect your character sheets. I asked him about that, and he said that I work with you guys. I trust you're not going to be petty enough to lie to me about your roles and your stuff. So, so in a way, I kind of like that he's more focused on the storytelling in general than this. So technically, abilities don't really matter. Yes, the way I'm sort of looking at it.
Oh yeah. They as Melee is here saying, did you do your proficiencies? I think that in a moment you may want to. There may be a couple of things on the previous screen you might want to go back and look at. Maybe that they're a little hidden. Some of the options in there under your class.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Those things with like the numbers by them.
So wisdom and charisma.
I think you can. I think you get to those are. I think those might be drop downs where you can choose different ones.
So I did select the persuasion.
Okay. And then I think there was like ability score improvement is a thing you can decide which option you want for first level at least, and then you can whether you want that or a feat.
Yeah, we'll just throw that in there.
Okay. Oh yeah. For all the different various levels.
Oh, there are feats here.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
So many feats. I'm not even really familiar with the feats. I haven't used them before in 5e. I used them a bunch in 3e. There was no choice, but
I gotta say, if we're going with the hibachi chef cleric, dual wielding is going to.
I think that's a must.
That's a must. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We'll do that.
Yeah. So you get like. Yeah.
So we'll go with another feat because why not?
Sure.
So any thoughts here on feats? Audience.
Mirrors. Have you folks done feats? I have not done feats before.
Skilled.
Oh yeah. If you want more skills to fold in here.
Okay. Well,
I think you're gonna. Well, I mean, I think you're gonna get it. You might. There are certain things that do get automatically added depending on what you choose, and also there's like with the background that'll give you, but it just sort of depends on which way you want to wrap it.
Okay, so cook's tools completely in there.
Yeah, so I mean,
what else?
That's something you might be able to pick up later, depending on what also. But it just depends on what you want to do with your background. But
yeah, we're going all in on this chef idea right
excellent.
now.
So do you want performance for like cooking in public type thing?
Yeah, we'll do that. And then perception, maybe.
Perception's not bad. Perception is always handy. If you don't have it already. As a proficiency, skill proficiency.
So these are all the proficiencies, and I was able to choose between history, insight, medicine, persuasion, and religion.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll go with persuasion. Ironically, this cleric doesn't have religion as a skill, but
oh dear. And you might pick it up later. I mean, you can always still roll religion. It's just a question of which thing you pick, which background you pick. You might.
I mean, he could be completely ignorant of religious practices in general.
That's fair.
He worships the god of cooking.
This is true. This is awesome.
My special skill, onion volcano.
Yes.
Oh man.
Hmm.
Okay, so we'll go with the point buy system.
All right.
13. Am I happy with those?
Let's see. 9, 12, 12, 12, 15, 13. I mean, yeah, I think your primary is, your primary things here, wisdom, and then if you're turning things eventually, charisma. That looks like a pretty good spread.
Yeah. I mean, I get that +2 to dexterity, so.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'll come up to. Yeah, that looks pretty good.
I mean, we could go here and we can add just one extra point in Constitution.
I think, yeah. There was a question here about if you did the leveling at the first page, but I think you did. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given you those different choices for upping your ability scores or taking feats at those later points. So I think you get that like every 4 levels.
Yeah, but I only did.
Yeah, no,
I did
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, you only took one ability score improvement, and then you did feats for the rest of them. But
right.
Yeah, but you got those 3 options show up. So yeah, that's so you did actually do the leveling there. So
okay. Oh, okay. So actually, it has the racial bonus included in here.
Yeah, down below.
So okay. Yeah. All right, I'm good with that. Cool. That's fine. Like I said, I don't really feel like.
The backgrounds are a lot of fun.
Man, I was so dead set on not being an entertainer, but we're an entertainer.
Well, you still don't have. Well, I mean, you can be, but.
No.
Okay, yeah, so this is
the die has been cast.
This is your halfling's life now.
It's the halfling's life now. So, choose a musical instrument. What could he play while he's
bagpipe?
I want to say, if he's a hibachi,
master of the pan flute,
drum.
Drum is good.
Drum. I think drum is fine. Performance. We'll say sleight of hand.
Oh yeah. No, that's gonna be great. That's gonna be great for that.
By popular demand, you can always find a kitchen to perform in.
Yes. I can't believe we're sitting here making a hibachi chef in D&D 5e, and I love it so much.
A halfling hibachi chef.
Yes! Oh my gosh. So you have to choose 2 personality traits.
Okay.
From under that first menu.
So is he going to be like an insufferable Gordon Ramsay type of chef?
I mean, I don't see why not, but you're doing it wrong.
This is not lamb. This is not lamb.
It's bloody raw.
Bloody raw. You just imagine him climbing up on top of the table and taking 2 loaves of bread and putting them right over somebody's ears.
Oh
It's
my
like,
god.
what are you? A shit sandwich, sir. But just the idea that in order for him to reach up to do that, he has to climb up onto like a countertop.
Oh my god.
And does that.
Yes. Tiny Gordon Ramsay. There's so much oil in that dish that the nose grease our axles.
No, Levi's got the right idea. It's gotta be Emerald or Guy Fieri. And I
Oh.
think Guy Fieri is gonna be great.
Oh my god. Yes. Yeah. Just imagining the halfling with like the bleached blonde hair. the freaking mustache. The halfling took. I didn't understand, and then the halfling. I didn't understand until the halfling cleric took me to Flavortown. I understand everything now.
I'm gonna take you down to Flavortown.
Oh my god.
I know a story relevant to almost every situation because then that'll just let me.
Well,
bullshit.
yeah. Ah.
Oh.
Oh, jeez.
Ideals. Okay, so now he
pick
needs
one
an
of those,
ideal.
yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I think hibachi is all about chaos and being bold cooking.
Creativity. Yeah. The world is in need of new ideas and bold action. So yeah, so you just click on the ad thing there to.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Okay, yeah, you do. Okay.
What was it? What's the name of Guy Fieri's show? Was it Diners, Drive-ins, and Die?
Oh yeah, something like that. I've never actually watched it, so I don't know. But
there is this really funny comedian who had like an entire bit on Guy Fieri, and basically like shitting on anyone who hated on Guy Fieri because he was a really nice guy.
Wow.
And I think one of the funniest things, like, now I know you guys might be skeptical because of the way I dress, and I look like someone who would love Guy Fieri.
Yeah.
So,
Diners, drive-ins, and dives.
yes.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I have seen that meme. There's a meme of Dungeons and Dragons and Diners and Dives.
I gotta get that shirt. I should get that shirt and wear it for this.
Well, now you have to.
Now I have to. Oh my god. My bonds. Okay. I'm gonna go with someone stole my precious kitchen knife, and someday
Oh
I
no!
will. And flaws.
WebDM did an Escape to Flavortown charity one-shot. He says. I had forgotten about that. I didn't actually see it, but I think I remember hearing about that.
Oh, my soul was in that kitchen knife.
No! Oh, that's not good. Your soul's... You're gonna get that back.
Someday we'll find it. Despite my best efforts, I am unreliable to my friends. Well, what was this I said about being friendly and or group friendly? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a sucker for a pretty face. I mean,
Yeah, you could do that.
maybe I'm a sucker for preserved meat.
So many possibilities here.
So many possibilities here. I once satirized a noble who still wants my head. It was a mistake.
That I will likely repeat.
So I feel like Guy Fieri hibachi chef. I can't believe this is what we've come up with
I
now.
know. How did
This
this happen?
um, uh, I would like to think that his enemy would probably be Anthony Bourdain. So what if he
Hmm.
pissed off Anthony Bourdain
Oh.
because this halfling champions um, more commoner street foods as
Yeah.
opposed to high class
Yeah.
such. Yeah, let's go with that. So
Oh,
I once
that's
had
good.
a world's renowned chef.
Yes.
I was just using Anthony Bourdain as an example. I mean,
Yeah.
we could go
Yeah.
with any other like hoity-toity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, chef.
Yeah. It can be.
But
Yeah. It's whatever equivalent of in the sort of the D and
Andrew
D world they're
Zimmerman.
using.
I
Yeah.
don't think Andrew Zimmerman's high enough. Let's go with Wolfgang Puck.
Ah, there you
We'll go with more. We'll go with some very. Oh, Bobby Flay. Yeah,
go.
okay.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Uh, well, whoever it is, he's got to be very insufferable. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, that's important. Someone who is completely aware of how famous they are. That's the important thing. Um, faith.
So I think this halfling's got to be. Do we say neutral or neutral good?
Ooh, well, um, because it depends. If your halfling is trying to do good, I mean, everyone thinks of themselves as good, but a neutral good is that kind of helps if you're trying to get along with other party members and such as well a little bit. Of course, straight neutral is if you're trying to do some sort of preserving of the balance of the food or some such thing. There's always that. But or if you're just sort of indifferent about how how the the morality of the thing of the food or what have you. I feel as though your halfling has some very specific principles.
Yeah.
That he goes by. So.
I think that he's trying to teach. I wouldn't say he's proselytizing. I think
Yeah.
he's sort of just trying to set an example of how to live a passionate and a nourishing, or how to nourish people.
I'm just loving the comments we're getting.
No, he's not going to be. He's not going to be committed to his single cooking style. He's going to be agnostic in cooking style in this
Ooh.
that uh, Soma from Shokugeki is. So I think it's neutral good. He's going to help people according to their needs, but it's probably going to be food related.
Hmm.
in some manner.
Yeah. And so, your faith is probably your whatever their equivalent of like Bacchus or whoever they use is in their homebrew world.
So is he going to live a modest lifestyle or a comfortable lifestyle?
It's interesting, isn't it? It's an interesting question. I don't think that. I mean, I'm guessing that you could probably select anything there, and it's probably not going to matter too much for your
It's probably
group.
not.
But
We'll go with modest.
yeah.
But his faith. So we need a name for this god or goddess of cooking.
Yes. Well, if nothing else, there's always fantasynamegenerator.com. Are you going to be a true Soma and give them therapy through mise en place? It says. I'm not familiar with that. However,
so there's this anime that May and I had busted through called Shokugeki no Soba.
Oh, okay.
And it's basically it's about this teenager kid. His father was actually a world-renowned chef who burnt out. But for whatever reason, this kid gets sent to a school culinary school that happens to be like super elitist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I don't know if you ever saw the show The OC.
I did not.
No, okay. Uh, think about it. Did you ever see the movie Scent of a Woman?
I remember the trailers. I didn't actually get around to seeing it. But I know that in that Al Pacino is playing a blind lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so well, no, not a lawyer, but
not a
just a
lawyer,
blind
a blind
veteran.
person.
Okay, so imagine a boarding school filled with the kids of the richest chefs in the world,
Ooh.
and only 1% of the population ever graduates from the school. And
Okay.
yeah, there's all these weird uh, they use all sorts of like really high end cooking techniques, and Soma is just a kid who grew up working in a diner. Um, and then all of the usual anime hijinks ensue.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Cool.
Okay, so uh,
I also just want to mention. I remember Justin. I remember Justin Wilson. It was he was much liked by members of my family. But that was a while back.
Yondala is the
Yeah.
goddess of the halflings.
Yeah. In I know that that's true in Greyhawk. I don't know if they're porting that over, but I mean they always can. There are a bunch of what is it, hierarchies back here. I think in the back of the book, probably, if I'm
I don't
looking in the
know.
right place.
I don't
Maybe I'm not.
think that the elven god of food would enjoy a trip or um, establish his base in Flavor Town.
Hmm.
I just don't see an
Yeah. Well,
an elven town called Flavor
well,
Town.
yeah. Yondala is the halfling goddess, but I can't remember. I can't remember the specifics. It's been so long.
So maybe this guy is a pioneer um, within the service to Yondala,
Sure.
and is coming up with his own what do you call that, religious sect.
Yeah, yeah. It's basically his own sect that's just sort of cooking based, or
Cooking based sect. Um, maybe is trying to establish a business for the Church of
they need a
Yondala.
storefront. That's perfectly fine.
Okay, yeah, a line of restaurants,
This is
sort of like how the monks out in Western Massachusetts established their own um, brewery.
I have this strange feel. Okay, no, that's good. That's good. I hadn't thought about that, but it's just for a
Yeah.
moment my brain was starting to turn to this thought of this strange sort of hibachi based evangelism. It's like, hmm, as a thing that could happen one day.
Okay.
Yeah, and all those other things you don't necessarily have to fill in per se, but if you would like to, it's perfectly fine if you want to
Let's
record the
cut an
details.
image because we've got such a great
Oh yeah.
idea for this character. Um, okay, so are we gonna go with frosted blonde tips?
Hmm. Dark, dark brown hair with blonde highlights. Blonde
Not just
frosted
highlight
tips.
tips. It's got to be like the frosted
Oh
tips,
my god.
the skin. Uh, well, we're not gonna go completely Guy Fieri. Maybe we're gonna cross Guy Fieri with a halfling and a member of BTS.
Hmm. BTS. I'm not. I'm not
It's
familiar.
that Korean pop band that
Oh,
everyone
okay.
nuts about. Skin, fair. We'll just go with fair. Eyes, brown. What are the height ranges for halflings?
What are the? Oh yeah, heights. In here, let me turn in my hymnal to the halfling page, and it shall tell me. Come on, halfling. Where are you? The halfling page is hiding from me. Here we go. So standing about 3 feet tall, it says. So on average, they're like 3 feet. Yeah.
Okay, I just did it in the flaw just because I wanted to make it was very specific, and which we're going to use is Justin Wilson.
Oh my goodness. He wasn't very. He wasn't very. What is the word? He wasn't terribly snooty about things. He was very much a. He was a Cajun chef.
A Cajun chef. By Family Heirloom Knife. Okay, we'll go with that. Ideals. We're going to change this. We're going to say his ideal is flavors. The world needs to know of Flavor Town.
Oh my god.
We're doing this. We're going with it.
They're either going to love this or hate it.
I know a dish for every occasion. Let's go with that.
Shire of flavor.
The Flavor Shire.
Flavor Shire. Yes.
We're going to Flavor Shire.
This is so wonderful.
So we're saying we're saying about 3 feet tall.
Yeah.
We'll go 3'3". And weight.
Yeah, I think they said it's around like 40, 45, something like that.
Okay.
I'm pulling it back up. I'm turning to that page again. Yeah, 40 to 45 pounds. It's typically how they. Yeah.
No, we're going to give him 55 because nobody trusts a skinny chef.
Of course. Of course.
Organizations.
Skinny cleric.
Never trust a skinny cook cleric. Organizations. Okay, so we need a name for some sort of culinary institution.
Oh man.
So, something like something like the Zagat's Guide or something like that.
Let's see.
Okay. What's a good name for a beholder? Let's say that there's this beholder who reviews and categorizes all of the eating establishments across the world.
Let me see.
We're not doing
Stop
with the egg puns.
Let's see. Snigix, Trevoa, Mingraria, Trivanos, Vakursa, Nrakanosh, Nromamez, Jeshunan. They don't have beholder names under Fantasy Name Generator, but I went to Hydra names because that's kind of...
We can go with Hydra names.
Zorono,
Oh, how do we spell that? We'll go with the Z.
Zrorono.
Let me see if I just want to make sure I get this right for.
Yep.
Or we'll go with
Culinary Institute.
International Culinary Reviews.
I love the idea of a beholder being in charge of this.
It says gold, Jerry. Gold.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I never actually fill in most of that stuff that you're into now, but feel free.
Well, it'll help me just sort of
oh, sure.
get started with the role playing and stuff. So we'll go with Penzies. His ally is Penzi. Penzi spice. I got to find out the quick history of Penzies. This is how you end up diving down this rabbit hole of history.
Yes.
Is you just start looking up stuff. Spice. He's Pensy, a spice merchant. I mean, you can't have Flavorshire without spice.
Yeah, you're right.
So we're going to say that his enemy is Wolfgang Wuck. World-renowned orc chef.
Yes. Yes. This is too good.
Okay, so we're gonna actually double back and we're gonna say Wolfgang Wuck.
Oh my god.
Because our chef had the audacity to criticize Wolfgang Wuck's interpretation
I know.
of
How dare you? How dare you, sir?
Okay, that's enough. The backstory and other stuff that'll go.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, basically, did they tell you if you're starting out with like magic items or anything like that?
I don't know. I'm probably gonna have to ask him about that.
Okay.
So we'll skip the starting equipment stuff. We already have the basics. I think his mace is just going to be a meat tenderizer. I carry a dagger, but it's really just a kitchen knife.
Yeah. I mean, if you can choose, if you want to choose the starting equipment, that'll at least give you your choices of your basic various things. But then that's also weapons and what have you. But I don't know.
The dark side of cooking: cinnamon, cumin, and cilantro. He's having too much fun with this.
Oh my god.
Okay.
This is beautiful.
Okay, so we'll just export that character sheet for now.
Awesome, sir.
Okay, so there we go. Oh, wait, we forgot. We didn't come up with a name for this guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That might help. The character name.
We'll go back and view the character sheet. Because
His name
forgot.
is his whip.
His name is Whip,
His name is Whip.
a light cleric. Uh, all right. Well, what is a good name for maybe an Asian an Asian halfling?
Hmm.
What if he was an Indian halfling?
That too would work.
Cordo Whippin? Last name needs to be Shokugeki.
Let's see.
That sounds a little bit too much like he's appropriating, though.
Hmm. So let's see. I've got a bunch of names over on Fantasy Name Generator. See, they've got. Depends on where we're looking.
It's a wee Bobby Flay into this.
Trying to weave Bobby Flay in somehow. Yeah. You can always, or you can always fantasy it up. Just take a regular name and fantasy it up into something else, maybe. Are you looking for? So, what part of were you wanting to go, like Indian for like somewhere in Asia, or?
If we're really talking about him specializing in hibachi, I think that's Japanese.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's see. I've got Japanese. They've got a subsection for either Japanese or Japanese Edo period.
Ooh, okay.
Uh, I'm gonna actually I'm gonna send you this link over our chat, so that way it'll be a little faster, and you can.
Bobby Flay insulted this character by standing on a cutting board.
Oh no!
That was an actual thing with Iron Chef Japan.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, like at one point during his matchup with Morimoto, Morimoto said at the end of his cooking session, Bobby Flay stood up on his cutting board and celebrated the end of his cooking, and Morimoto was just like, "Cutting board is sacred. One must not do stuff like this." And that's when like Iron Chef really took off because of all the drama.
Nice.
And then he did it twice. That's
oh,
right.
Oh man.
And Morimoto was just like, "This is bullshit."
No. Oh jeez.
Oh, that link.
I just love this concept. It's just such a delightful concept.
Where did you send that link, by the way?
I sent it over Zoom chat.
Oh, okay.
So it should be in there in the thing.
Like, how do I pull that up again?
So if
I got it.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious that we have a halfling with a Japanese name.
Well, it's also very cool because it makes sense that any at the point where most D&D societies are, which is roughly like it's post medieval. It's actually closer to 19th century. A lot of it. Then there's been a lot of travel. These species have probably covered the globe at this point, so it makes sense.
All right. So I actually like this because it just rolls off the tongue.
Awesome.
But, I'm thinking of going with
nice.
We'll go with Mori Munitoshi, also known as Momu.
Excellent.
And there we go.
Awesome.
There we go.
Cool.
That was way more fun than I thought it would be, to be honest.
Excellent. And there he is.
There he is.
Excellent. This is delightful.
That was great.
Very cool.
I can't believe how people should do this more often, I
This was a lot of fun. I
think.
think I will go back to our uh, see if we can stop screen sharing and we can get back to ourselves here. And now I don't know where this.
Stop sharing.
Oh, okay, there we go. That works. Hi. This is what it
Hey.
looks like when we're not using the green screens. And this is what it looks like when we are.
There we go.
Excellent.
So I guess this is a good time to segue. So today is the last day for signups for Jim's next. I think it's going to be a longer campaign.
Yes, Invisible Sun. That's gonna. I'm doing the. I have the access to the directed campaign from Mighty Cook Games, so I'm going to be interacting with them. And so I'm doing this thing where there will be like 5 featured players, and roughly 5-ish. I haven't made up my mind yet, but then there will be a bunch of guest players who will come in at different times. I'm doing a flexible schedule. So different. Not necessarily everyone has to show up for every session. They're only going to be like 2-hour sessions, I think, and just have them follow wherever the characters are going. A lot of the story is going to be told in development mode, which is kind of a side, often used as a side thing where there's not as much in the way of mechanics. But I think that development mode lends itself very well to streaming,
Sure.
and to just basically doing it remotely. And so a lot of it's going to be very story driven there. And Invisible Sun is already story driven. You're following the arcs of your characters, which you pick on the first session. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how it goes. And signups are closing today. Today is the last day of signups. So sometime after midnight, I'm going to close signups on it. So if you want to get in, we have had an insane number of people sign up for this. There are, what the heck, there's only a few hours left. There have been almost 50 signups for this game.
I love that.
My mind is blown because prior to this, my record was about like 10 thereabouts on any one sign up form for games. So this is just, I have no idea where this comes from. But this game has the potential to have a lot of people in it over the course of probably roughly the next year. I think that's going to be roughly. The directed campaign has approximately a year's worth of material, they say, that I'm going to be drawing on. But it's going to be customized to whoever the featured players are. At the same time, though, so I've got it on the sign up form for it. It's like people can sign up to be a featured player or a guest player or both. They can check both boxes if they want to apply for it. And it's hopefully I'm going to be able to be respectful of everybody's schedules in doing it. But this is something I have always wanted to see if this can be a sort of a sustainable, larger world type game thing. And I think Invisible Sun is a game that is capable of doing that. So I'm giving it a try. And I may not have whatever shreds of my sanity I hold on to intact by the end of it, but we're going to see what happens.
No, it should be good. Well, I'll be watching it, even if I know I threw in my hat for the sign up because I do want to try doing a sort of year-long or a season-long campaign. So it sounds really cool. It sounds really fun. With all the different people that could come in for different spurts of time. It could very well be your sort of version of Avengers Endgame.
It could be. It totally could. It's going to be nuts. I'm thinking I'm going to open up a Discord for this. And so my channel will have a Discord soon. Because once I figure out how many of the players are going to be ultimately in this, because you'll have the core of like just the maybe around 5-ish core players, but then the guest players also will be able to communicate with each other and back and forth. And I want to encourage that for their lives continue on, and so they've got characters doing stuff and involved in stuff also in downtime. So I kind of want it to be a little like a persistent world, or as much as one as I can do with its being just me running it. And also, actually, that's the thing. Also, with Invisible Sun, they have certain things. I don't have to be there for a good portion of it. People can just role play if they want to, which is very much. I was in a global LARP group that operated in that fashion for quite a while. And so that's something I'm also kind of drawing on a little bit. As far as just the experience with how I know that these things can work. So I just sort of see what's going to happen. So you've got just a couple hours left, a few hours left. If you want to head over there, if you want to sign up for that, there's a sign up link down below to the sign up. The link down below goes to the sign up page on my website. So feel free to go and click that if you want to get into it, because this is going to be nuts. It's going to be absolutely nuts. I have no idea who's going to be in it yet. I have to figure it out. I have to look at all the schedules. I got to do a lot of math and figure out, because you get to put your schedule in. I got to figure out when people can be where. But I do want to try to, since I had so many players, I do want to try to draw on as many of them as I can to be guests, at the very least. I am about to probably open a huge freaking can of worms, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like you put a lot of really good work into organizing things and setting the stage. I'm still wondering whether or not you purposely set up that uneven temperatures thing with regards to that hearth in Tremulous, with the hope that I would make that propane joke.
Actually, no, I had no idea.
Yeah. No, I mean, is he setting me up for this layup? Because this was right there. I'm like, uneven temperatures. Fire.
I wasn't thinking about that, but yes, no, that worked very nicely. No, just, it's, sometimes there are just sort of spots where it's chillier, and that's that.
So one thing, if you don't mind me taking the conversation elsewhere, just because Madeline is here, and as I mentioned, Madeline's a longtime friend who's very experienced in role play, plays in Dungeons and Dragons, and sort of looking to spread out or venture out in some of that, and maybe explore the idea of doing this sort of thing on a stream. And I know Kazemi might still be kicking around, and so if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about what drew you into streaming tabletop RPGs, what you think it offers over say just a regular online game.
Sure.
But why people should overcome their kind of shyness or their desire to not be on camera and dive into this whole world and community.
I can definitely talk from my own experience as to what it means to me. It's going to be different for everybody,
Right.
but I can definitely talk about that a little bit. And so, basically, so I have, and I think I might have posted something about this somewhere on Twitter or something like that. But yeah, okay. So I'm a theater creature. Basically I'm one of the theater folk. Those strange creatures who go and do Shakespeare in the Park, and then you have to leave out bowls of milk for them at night, and then they can't cross a threshold unless invited in or something. I can't remember. We have a lot of rules. I can't remember what they are. But no. So I grew up with that, and I also it's a thing where I went to broadcasting school briefly to try to do that. I've tried a lot of different things because I have the ADD OCD cocktail. So straight lines, no. I can follow things, but it's so So I did theater for a while. I did I was trying. I dipped my toe in broadcasting. Didn't get to do a lot of it, but then also did a lot of podcasting, online stuff, which was also very satisfying because I enjoy audio dramas and putting those together if I can. And so what this did for me, it's an interesting. I discovered that streaming on Twitch is kind of a very sort of a synthesis of a bunch of those things, and they hit all the right buttons for me. It's so it's really cool for me in that respect. It is a weird thing where it's like I am an extrovert, but also I have social anxiety. So it's like most of the fuel that I get from being around people goes immediately into not screwing up. So that's a thing. And so it's the more people that I'm interacting with generally simultaneously, and the more creative stuff I get to do, the more I can be self-sustaining, and I can get up out of the red and actually have energy. So like doing this was awesome because we were getting to build this concept, and I love brainstorming things. That was actually the principle of one of the podcasts I used to do, Crucible of Realms. We used to build a different world every episode, and so that kind of thing is really great for me. I got into doing this just through a few different sources. I had I ended up pitching an idea for a podcast to my friend David. We had been doing Numenera themed and other Cypher System themed podcasts for a bit, and that was the Cypher Cast. It was a more general thing because Monty Cook Games was spreading out with a bunch more things, and so we did that. And then one of our hosts, Danny, ended up started streaming. I think during that time she had been doing, so she was talking about it and giving out different locations. She appears on the Greyhawk channel. She was running a campaign over there for a while, and then she started doing another gaming podcast, but as well. But and she still shows up when they haven't been doing that same campaign a lot recently, but they come back to it from time to time. So she was on that. So I was looking into it at first because of that, and then Monty Cook Games also because of this podcast. They started streaming their games of Invisible Sun when Invisible Sun was coming around, and so I started watching that. And we also got to interview Darcy Ross, who was on that, and because she was also running her own Invisible Sun game on a separate thing, which actually at the time was going out on YouTube. I think. I don't think that was. I don't know if they were streaming that yet. I'm not sure. They were. They were streaming that one. Also, sorry. Timeline. Hard. Difficult. So I don't know exactly. So I had all these factors going in where I was trying to look at it and it's like, this is interesting. And then I stumbled across Off the Tables game of Cypher System that was being run by Grant Ellis, which is Life on Mard. And that opened, that just sort of, my brain exploded when I saw that because I'm like, oh, you can do theater on here, basically. And I was like, well, in that case, I need to get involved in this.
It was the part I was born to play.
Yes! So, and this does very nicely synthesize a lot of those things. So that's sort of brings them all together. So I get my need to perform and my need to play RPGs and my need to even do writing stuff because there's creative stuff involved here too, all in one thing. So that's my side of it anyway. That's why it's good for me personally.
Sure.
And were you wanting to get into aspects of it that's more general, or?
Maybe talk a little bit about some helpful tips to people who might have some hesitation to try to dive into this, because it is a whole lot. I mean, for me, like, I had been streaming and been at least participating in online Twitch communities for about a year and a half before I decided that I would do this. So I started streaming as a part of my Extra Life fundraising about 2.5 years ago. And I didn't really do it very regularly. I started doing it because I thought it would be cool, but also at the same time, it would help me work on things like presentation, mostly off the cuff live presentation. Because always growing up, I always had hated doing them or just doing public speaking in general because I had to do a lot of preparation for it and a lot of memorization. And if someone threw me a curveball or asked me a question that I didn't prepare for, I would just get totally unglued.
Mm.
So, starting to stream was sort of like this whole idea. And even then, for the first year of streaming, I did it wearing a luchador mask, um, because I was really afraid of someone at work catching me and causing a lot of trouble for me. So it was only this like last year where I shucked the mask and I was just like, you know what, I don't care anymore. Um, and then I feel like I got more comfortable, but I think this year has sort of been a really good stepping stone for me in that I've actually been streaming weekly and doing so since the start of the year, which, you know, where are we? May? That's 5 months straight. That's really
Mm.
hard to do, um, because when you're just streaming on your channel, you can kind of blow it off because you're like, whatever, it's my channel. I don't have anyone to answer to. But I'm like I'm on other people's channels. I'm on the Extra Life channel and yours, and I can't just blow that off because that means no one would trust me to do anything with them anymore. So, um, so I guess what I'm saying is, my way or my path into doing online streaming stuff was sort of different in that I was just doing it just to help me with my professional life and working in business and such. But there are a lot of other gamers out there, particularly gamers that I've met through the years in City of Heroes and such, who have a certain shyness or don't want to be on camera, but might find the experience a little bit more liberating and easier to handle. I think the big thing that I hated about trying to find an RPG group back in the day was that they were all these strangers, and because no one was paying attention, people could be gigantic turd holes and to you and get you off of that. I mean, like I remember one time in the comic book store when I posted an ad say that I was looking for an RPG group to join and play with, someone defaced it and put a bunch of racial slurs on my card and such. And like I had no idea who did that or why anyone would do that, but that and so then that's basically when I said I was just not going to do this or try to pursue it anymore. And that was sad because I spent a lot of money on source books and such. But I mean, there are people out there though. I think one of the benefits of doing a tabletop stream RPG is that everyone's on their best behavior. uh,
Fair.
yeah, and I think people, yeah, it's all been overall a really really good community to get into. You don't get a lot of toxic people in my experience sort of watching on the streams or being on streams. I don't think there's a troll who's come by your channel at all in any of the shows.
I haven't seen any, and that's I'm kind of amazed by that thus far.
Yeah,
I like my viewers quite a lot. It's very good.
yeah, but
Yeah,
I don't see that on Off the Table or
yeah.
Encounter RP or the Scraticus channel, things like that. So in a lot of ways it's probably even safer to play on a stream, on a live stream, than it is a private group on Roll20.
I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of streams out there with people who are still being jerks,
Sure.
but I think those don't get quite as much traction. Also, but there is a certain factor to having people watching you that I think is probably going to definitely affect people's behavior. There is actually someone uh, who has written a thesis about how the viewer interaction affects how people, gaming and how people are doing it. That was written by Kiana. And I'm trying to find a link to the thing for if folks are interested, and it's not coming up. So I'm just going to link to her Twitter because it's in there somewhere. So I put that in chat. Yeah, Kiana is basically did this as sort of like the focus of her college career. Was sort of figuring this out. And I have not had a chance to read it yet, but she's made it publicly available. She just did not too long ago, and so that is definitely something that I think she's been doing a lot of work on this. So there's definitely got to be some good insight in there. And also, Kiana's just a wonderful person in general, and I think that she should be supported. Oh yes, is Levi? Is that it? Is that the? Dungeons and Dragons live streaming. There it is. Awesome. Oh. Thank you, Levi. Yes, Levi just put the chat to the to the actual files of the thing in there. So yeah, if you want to check those out, those are there in chat. Because it's definitely I think something that goes probably into great detail about the kind of thing we are talking about right now.
Yeah. So so if you have any sort of advice for people who've played RPGs for a long time but haven't done so on a live stream but want to start getting involved in doing that community, I think that people should do it more. The people that I know do it more, just because I think they have very unique perspectives and pretty good stories to share and tell. And I mean, just look at all the fun stuff that May came up with just on this character.
Yes.
Thing. I've been trying to get her to do this a little bit more, just because I think she would be fun to have on one of your mini campaigns.
Cool.
So we'll throw that out there. But do you have any
signups are coming soon for yes I think next month we're doing Durance. So yeah, no, I've got what I think that is important. Is you can look at these live streams and look at all of the different pieces and go a little nuts because I think there's so many things that they're doing all at once. You can start slow on something like this. Because there are a lot of pieces, you can start doing just a few of them at a time. So it really is not. It's not as daunting as it looks at first. I think that you really all you need is just you need to do a little research to figure out what the various pieces are of the things you need to do. But I think if you're thinking about doing it, you should probably give it a try because it's really good. It does, I think, wonders for those who are playing and those who get to watch. I think in many ways.
I mean, you get stuff like Sithphilus, for instance.
Exactly. I mean, where else are we going to find that the dark side of the Force is in fact a venereal disease? Oh my god. It's what was it? I think that if you're thinking about doing it, you can easily just pick up. Everything you need to get started is free. Twitch membership if you want to use Twitch. You can do it on Facebook if you want. You can do it on YouTube. There are programs that you can use. I use OBS, but there are others. OBS is free. There are a couple of different versions of it. One's simpler than the other, I think, that you can use, and you can look up information pretty quick. I was able to find information pretty easily when I was Googling to try to figure out how to do individual things using it. And some, just give it a try, I think. And especially, I think if I can't pretend to know what it is like, but if you are someone who is marginalized, I think that your voice is very much wanted and needed. I think that, so if you're thinking about doing it, please do it so that we may make the world a better place. I know that might sound a little weird and sappy, but we're honestly, it's 2019. You've been out there. You know what's happening. I think that it would be nice to start turning that around, and the more we see a lot of different people, I think the better chance we have at surviving. But that's my opinion.
I think that's fair. Thank you for the words of encouragement. Because some people might not just listen to me. I don't know. That sounds kind of crazy, but that's where we are. Just really messing with you, May. Sorry.
Well, it's totally fine and totally fair. However, that said, do we want to start? Do we want to start wrapping up? As we've been 2 hours and a quarter now.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, I don't want to tire you out. I know this is very, very different for you.
I am almost out of vodka and Coke.
Vodka and Coke. But hey, I think we should do this more often. I think it's been.
This was good. This was really good.
I think one thing that I think it's kind of hard with the tabletop RPG streams and such in general is that you don't get to know the people as well, because everybody's busy working on being in character and doing their own thing. It's very different than when you're playing like a video game and then just talking to people while you're doing that. So thank you for this experience, because we've been gaming together for
since February.
Yes, February, and it was great to get to know you on outside of and create something with you for a change. I still want to do a game where we're both player characters, because I think that would be kind of fun.
That would be fun. I need to start getting on the horn and getting. In the back of my head, I have plans at some point to get guest GMs to come in and do short campaigns. But they're the ones that I've been talking to, unfortunately, have been tied up with a lot of stuff. They might, post summer, they might start freeing up a little bit. Sure. I do have some thoughts in the work for it. So definitely. But I guess if we are ready to move to, outros, then thank you so much for coming. This was great. And where can folks find you, and what manner of things are you working on?
So I was working on a Japanese halfling hibachi chef / cleric. You can find me on Twitter. That's probably the best place to go. It's kind of funny because everybody sort of acknowledges that Twitter is a pretty big cesspool, but that's like the place where you can find me most reliably right now. I don't know what that says about me, but it's just that I'm in so many different Discords. It's like kind of hard to say, join my Discord and stay in touch, because I don't even have one for myself. You don't have one for yourself yet.
Not yet. Soon.
You can get in touch with me on Twitter. Direct message me there. If you guys need another player for a game, as you can tell, I can pick up and create a character really quickly. That won't be too weird. But you can find me there. You can find me Wednesdays right now on this channel doing Tremulous. We'll see what else. Just because I'm always happy to hop in on something else. Just like Ben Affleck's Mercutio.
Yes!
And I am here for my story, Romeo and the robot pirate's daughter.
Yay.
But it's great. I've met so many really cool RPers and other players like Levi, for instance, I guess, and everybody else has been so great on your channel. It's been a lot of fun, more fun than my extra life stuff.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. It's just trying to hopefully create an environment that is good for people. So we'll see where we go. But it's going so far so good.
Yeah, no, I like being here, and look forward to helping your channel grow.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Well, as for me, hi, I'm Jim. This is my channel, Jim or Other Doc or Doc. You can find me. I am Other Doc on both Twitch and Twitter. My website is jimyesthatjim.com, where I have various writings and audio thingies and such you can go and check out if you so desire. Also game signups. And let's see what's happening. I didn't write an outro this time, so I'm winging it. Let's see, what is today? Friday? Tomorrow? So on Friday afternoon, Saturdays, and Sunday mornings, I play video games. And on alternate Saturdays, we generally try to do the Cold Ruins of Last Life. We're coming, I think, toward the end of that campaign. That's run by Matthias, who was in the chat earlier. That's Dungeon World, but we're undead. So that's on alternate Saturdays. Not tomorrow, but we're going to try again on the 25th to do that. Then on Sundays, early Sunday evenings, I do one-shots. This Sunday, we're doing Dialect, which is a story game about language and how it dies. Basically, it's culture and isolation and how things change about them. We're doing a cyberpunk-themed one this Sunday, so I'm very much looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. All the players are very excited. I'm very excited. I want to see this game, how this plays online. On Monday afternoons right now, I am running a short campaign of Inspectors over on Katie's channel, Katie Face, Katyfaise. So you can come and watch us do hilarious paranormal investigations and eliminations for a local city government. The first session was a lot of fun, and we didn't even get into proper cases yet. We're going to have our first proper case on Monday. I'm going to really want to see what they do with it. Then, of course, Wednesdays we do short campaigns. This month's short campaign is Tremulous, and Anino is in that, as Arcady and Levi. These people we are mentioning, and also new player named Jasper. They are excellent. And that's thus far we're halfway through. They're in Siberia. There are eldritch horrors about. And they realize that they've just ticked off the Witch of the Woods, or the Darkling Witch, and so they get to find out what that's all about next episode, hopefully. And then that brings me back up to date. So signups right now, I think we are pretty much closing signups for anything else this month. I have to double check. We might be able to get someone into the last game of Dialect. So if you want to check out the sign-up forms, those are there. And remember, Invisible Sun sign-ups end today, and after midnight. And I'm in Eastern time, so sometime a little after midnight, I'm probably gonna shut it down. So you've got a little more time left. You got like a little less than 3 hours if you want to go and check that out. And we shall have such fun together. So feel free to check that out. Again, that's down below, or go to jimyesthatjim.com and click on the game sign-up link. Well, thank you so much, folks. This has been delightful. I think I'm going to go ahead and do a raid at the end of this. When I go to the end card, I'm going to send a raid over to Wandering DM. They are playing Adventures in Castle Falkenstein for anyone who has nostalgia of any kind. Which I'm delighted to go and check out. So if you're so inclined, feel free to hang out and go and say hi to them. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Take care, and I shall see you all of a sudden. Farewell.